Okay, so going from left to right, I've started with the dawn of time. I've got a living dinosaur coming out of a fossil. In the background here we have the geological strata of the region and early man knapping flints. Border relates to the activities or the era as we get to the present day. So we have fossils and flints and Bronze Age things. A sort of Boadicea character to sort of symbolise an early Briton, as it were. Anglo-Saxon wheel bosses and bridle bits. Then we get up to our battle scene. This is depicting two battles. The Offa, King of Mercia and Aldic, King of Kent. And in the background here I've put another battle, which is Edmund Ironside and King Canute. And then we can have our river running with blood, which is always quite fun. Everything's dated as we go along as well, so we've got a good chronology working. Okay, moving on into part 3, as it were. Thomas à Becket and his miracles. You know the miracle of the singing nightingale. Here they are singing up above, and here they are on their backs down below. Otford Palace, and just over there you can see a gold line, and that's a ground plan of the palace at around 1500. William Warham, there's a large figure because he's so important to that particular era. And then the play that we discussed at the last meeting. During the time of the plague, many festivities were indulged upon at the palace in an attempt to ignore the horrors of pestilence, an example of which I have included. I put this early sort of cricketer in with his sort of early bat. Scene of Otford High Street, Victorian group standing there. A little register of Otford's births, which is quite an important one, of about 1660. Representation of hops, which of course is very important local industry, but also very important because you could only drink beer really at this particular period, you couldn't really drink the water. And then something which changed everything, which is the coming of the trains. So we have a loco of this region. Turn of the century, and this couple here represent either going away or coming back from the wars. That could be representative of either war. Spark plugs and the combustion engine and car keys, which represent obviously cars. The ubiquitous Otford Three Ducks, which I think is credit cards, well I'm afraid they're in our lives, so circuit boards to denote electricity and sort of electrical science. The landing on the moon, such an important event, really can't be missed, so I've just got a little landing module against a symbol of the moon there. Proton structures and satellite dishes to represent sort of medical and communications. And then right at the very end here, while we're looking at the border, hand of the oldest inhabitant of Otford at the time of the turn of the century, and a handprint of the youngest. And I have a mother picking an apple, and apples being symbolic of fruit of knowledge, passing that to her son, who in turn is passing it to another generation. So there's always this continuity. And a nice sort of fruit tree at the end here. And the church just in the background. And the ubiquitous four-wheel drive. This is a drawing of, this is original artwork, and I've just transposed this from 1/2 inch to the foot, which the scale design is, onto the working wall. You can just visibly see the visible foot squares underneath the drawing. This is a skeleton of the work, so I've got to get this exactly right, and then we'll cover it with polythene, put the metal mesh on. The mosaic can be set on top of that following the drawing. This protects the drawing from the adhesive, which is going to squeeze through the metal mesh. So though it's set solid, it's like rubber. Now the beauty of this technique, of course, is that you can see the drawing through the mesh. This technique was developed by my father back in the early 1960s when he started making mosaics. The colours that we're going to be using are all going to be a mixture of ceramic and glass mosaic. This is vitreous glass, it's a bit dull to be honest, but this is the most beautiful of all mosaics. It's called Smalty glass and enamel. And then, amongst all that beautiful stuff, we've got the queen of all mosaics, which are gold and silvers. And that's actually gold and white gold leaf. And the other material, of course, are just basic ceramic tiles, but they're not any old ceramic tiles, they're frost-proofed, so that they can withstand all the weathering that they're going to get. All the border panels are going to be in cement fondue. It's very strong. but it has all the qualities of cement in that when it's set and it will weather. So these will fit in top and bottom of the tray, there and below, and the mosaic will fit in between. Fiona's making a clay master, and from the clay master that's put into just an MDF box. And then we use this wonderful material, which is a reusable moulding material called Vinamold or vinyl mould. And this can just be chopped up into tiny little inch squares and popped into the melting pot. And after about half a day, you can get a good sized pot load. And then just pour it in on top of the master. Next day you can peel this out and you have your female image. You put that back into the box and paint cement fondue. Now cement fondue is a very fast setting cement. So you paint in what they call the goo, which is just like a sort of custard consistency of cement fondue, into the mould. And then chop up fiberglass matting into 2 or 3 inch squares. Work that into the cement fondue and then put it onto the back. So you're building up sort of layers. We'll just peel it off from this side. And there we are. I've been using a black lead polish, which gives a rather nice effect. It can always be buffed up again. It's starting to come up really nicely now. At this stage I'm just putting the adhesive onto the mesh. Now this form of mosaic work is known as Andamento. And all that really means is just flow lines of mosaic. And I'm just setting them so they're about 2 mm apart. And that's so that the grout has somewhere to go. Okay, this is the bow fast flex. I'm just going to spread it out generally. Yes. Excellent. The mosaic's now been set into the tray. And I'm grouting it with a mixture of grey grout and a little bit of charcoal grout in there as well. I'm pushing the grout into the joints between all the mosaic. Having put all the grout on the surface of the mosaic, we use this wonderful machine called a German Washboard. So you basically wash it around like this, and then you just pull it down and I'm setting these in with the same adhesive that I did the rest of the work with.
Two of the panels were erected in July to encourage greater support, and the mosaic was completed just before Christmas.
There you go.
I hereby unveil the Otford Millennium Mosaic.